The volume down. Let's get started. All right. It is 6 o'clock, and this is the regular board meeting of the Winter Board of Directors of the Winter Oaks Water Supply Corporation. I'm the president, Joe Jimenez. We have Rich Schaefer, our secretary treasurer, Mike Nelson, our vice president, and Dorothy Taylor, who is not an officer at this time.
Excuse me, sir. Some of us are quite old. Can you speak up just a little more, please?
I will try. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so we had an introduction. We had a call to order. Mr. Secretary, will you call the roll?
President Joe, here. Vice President Mike,
Here.
Dorothy,
Here.
and myself, Rich, here.
Thank you. We have a quorum present. Comments from item number 3, comments from citizens and members who wish to speak on agenda or non-agenda items, 3-minute limit per person, please. Who's first? We have a list over there. Thank you. Alex Trabb.
I'll pass for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Renee French.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Renee French. My question involves the standby fee invoice that I received December the 20th of last year. It didn't have an address as to who it was coming from or who it was supposed to be paying for. But I sent in to the officers an email that same day with 12 questions, and it's been, the crickets have been mute. No answer. Let me translate for you. The questions evolve around the origin of the standby fee, where is it authorized in the tariff, as for TCEQ's and PUC's involvement. The other question is that this was the first invoice that I've received for, and it has 2.5 years worth of expenses, and it also has penalties on it. The penalties as calculated are 18.18%, which is a violation of Texas law on usury, without a signatory from the person receiving and paying to authorize that higher rent. I just want you to know about that. But I would like to know if you would put it on your agenda to respond to the clients. I'm a partial participant in 5 of your invoice organizations, so I would like to get a response to my email that was sent to you, to 2 of you gentlemen, on December the 20th of 2022.
Right. And we do have a response that we prepared. It just hadn't been sent to you. I do think that they had a printing error somewhere about the address, and they corrected that, and we simply we sent those out for the invoice. You know, they've forgotten the return address. But anyway, yeah, you should be. We have a response. We're going to be getting it to you soon.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jeff Walker.
Everybody, it's been a while since we all got together and met. I want to go over a couple of things that's been going on that probably haven't been published either fully or give you some behind the scenes stuff that's been going on. First off, it was identified by the board about how much they have spent in the lawsuit that I have filed against the board for the election irregularities that I brought forth to the board this last year. I spent over $25,000 of your money to defend something that I brought forth to both Rick and Joe in a private meeting almost 45 days after the election took place, and got 0 response from Joe, from Rick, and from the law and from the legal people. I want you to know that they went forth and spent your money to fight me to get on the board. Now I know that I found election irregularities along with some other members of the corporation. None of that has ever been brought forth by the board as far as if I was right or wrong. That doesn't matter. There's an empty board seat that has been vacant since last year. They could have saved every one of us $25,000 by putting me on that board. So I just want everybody to know how irresponsible that is, of saying, hey, why didn't you not take the second guy and put him on the board? In addition to that, Joe and I had a private meeting with Miss Cindy Ivy. Joe recommended or wanted me to become an advisor to the board. Why would he want me to be an advisor to the board? Because he knew that I had a voice of the people in this room. That I was on to some good ideas and some understanding of what you guys were looking for, the members of the corporation, the people who own the corporation. I turned it down. I said, Joe, I don't want to be your advisor and give you the direction and the guidance to get these people onto your agenda. Put me on the board. Again, refused, still. Defendant spent $25,000 to fight me on that. Now, since that time, we brought forth to the district court as defined by the bylaws. I'm also within the PUC, which is really, really important. It's really big. The PUC, what they did is they closed my filings. The ALJ did, the administrative law judge. I'm glad about that. Because the administrative law judge, they don't do much except, oh, maybe you'll go for it, maybe you won't. But the key part of it is what they did is they turned all my information over to an organization within the PUC called DICE, Department of Enforcement and Compliance. That is huge, people, because everything that I brought forth, they're investigating. And guess what? You're paying for it because they're fighting it out. They're fighting it again. They're fighting because we have asked for some compliancy. We have asked for them to show us some things. We have asked them to enforce some of the rules and regulations that we have set forth in the bylaws and the tariffs and all the other documentation we brought forth. So I don't know if you guys know that, but the board has recommended to fight us on this. And I say us because when I ran for the election to get on the board, I was representing you. I would have never done that. I would have said, okay, put the guy on the board. You know, save 25 grand. We've already spent a whole bunch of money on all these other lawsuits. Joe also said to me in that meeting that I had privately with him and Cindy Ivey, I didn't have the support of the board. And I told Joe, I said, I really didn't care. I had support of these people in the room, and that's who you should have the support of. And I had to question about why did Joe Jimenez ask me to be an advisor to the board? If he couldn't put me on the board, why would he want me to be an advisor? Isn't that what a board member does? Advises the president? Help me understand that. So, yeah, I know. I find that very, very hard to believe.
Mr. Walker, you have
So,
4 minutes.
okay, well, that's fine. Oh, I'm gonna take this. So again, whatever you're reading about the ALJ closed my case, absolutely, they totally did. But Department of Enforcement and Compliance is heavily reviewing it. Heavily, people. They're heavily. And I know some of the board members don't understand that or realize that, but in my opinion, that's really big. Because I really didn't care what the ALJ did. He's an administrative law judge. He's an administrator. That's all he is. He's not a commission. He's not within the group that we're trying to have an understanding or trying to get some guidance here. He's just an administrator. So we have that. I also find it pretty interesting that on the 19th of December, I sent a note to the board asking them what were the ramifications of the recent lawsuit. When are we, as the membership, going to see some of our money coming back? The $70,000. Joe said, I can't discuss that until February. Funny. Here we are, middle of January. It's on the agenda item. Help me understand that one. I don't know. Maybe I had some insight or some epiphany. I asked, when are we going to see an invoice going out to that individual? When are we going to see our legal fees to defend that person start to come back to us? Because it's not only the fine that was assessed to it, we were paying for that person's defense in all the legal bills. That's not fair to us. It was found guilty. Okay? It was found guilty. Let's go. Let's get our money back and let's move forward. There was no plan to that. Joe kind of shut me down. I got a little heated with him about that. I said, Joe, it's a really simple question. What's the plan? He said he didn't have one, had to wait for February. But now all of a sudden it shows up on the agenda items. I don't know what that's all about. But I really, really think that we've got to, as a membership, understand and demand that those fees get paid and that the legal fees that we pay to defend that person get reimbursed for. No question asked, that it should not even be discussion.
You're at 6 minutes.
Great.
I cede my time to him.
Got my time. Last point. What really, I just clearly don't understand this one about this whole thing. That the legal strategy of what they did in district court was to go after one of the individuals. I totally understand the legal strategy. A lot of the board members don't think I have a legal strategy. As a matter of fact, they don't think I have any legal knowledge, but I do. We went after that one individual because that was the biggest target. That was the queen. This is like when you go take out a hive, you take out the queen and the rest of the bees, you'll fly away. I used to be a beekeeper, I know how that works. Okay? But at the same time, everybody in this room, please understand that the board members at that time are just as culpable. They knew what was going on. They had to. How can you sit there and vote on something and it passes and so on, and then you hold no responsibility for it? Come on. Hold some ownership of it, hold some culpability of it, because we all know that that's what took place. There was other board members that were involved in the transaction, in all the document review, in all the rulings. Don't think that that was not going on. Just because we took out, just because one person was found, irresponsible of their fiduciary duty and fined, doesn't make the other board members at that given time period, a get out of jail free card. Okay? It makes them culpable as well because they were part of the whole program. And I have to say that because I look at this whole thing going, okay, it's one, but what about the rest of them? What about the rest of them? But I would like answers to make sure that the fines that were assessed to this individual get paid to us, don't get applied to legal fees, get maybe applied somewhere else, and all the legal fees that we have assessed during that time to defend that individual get reimbursed. No under the cover table shenanigans, no BS. I know that a lot of people spend time on that corner at that real estate, at that place, that are sitting on the board. We cannot have any side deals done. There was an affidavit signed that they would be reimbursed. End of story, people. We as a membership have got to demand that that takes place. And I don't want any bullshit, excuse my French, about, we're waiting for the February ruling. That is wrong. Because the judge and the jury said that case will not be appealed, and it's in writing. The judge cannot overturn that. The judge can amend it for future things, but he cannot amend the ruling that was taking place by peers of us. It was done outside of our jurisdiction. Come on. They found him guilty. The way it is, they fined him. Let's get our money and let's move forward. That's all I got to say.
We have another speaker, Bill Barker? I'm not sure.
Passing.
Okay. Danny Flunker. Oh, he yielded too.
I didn't yield my time. Sorry, Mike.
Okay, would you like
Partner. I was going to let Patty go first, actually. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, my 3 minutes start now. Patty Flunker. Most of you guys know me. If you don't, I'm Patty Flunker. I'm the ratepayer representative with Josie Fuller. I don't know if Josie Fuller's here today. I am so encouraged to see everybody here. I think everybody should give themselves a pat on the back for coming, because this is what we need. We need participation. Marvin, it's good to see you, because I actually read something that you wrote the other day, and I said, oh my God, Marvin was right on point. Marvin pointed out something 3 years ago about the finances of the WOWSC, and he should know because he was on the WOWSC, about the cash basis accounting they do here and the problems with it, because they are not showing us the correct financials. What you see and what you get is not correct. They do cash basis and they only recognize what they spent, what they paid, not what they incurred. What they are incurring in legal fees is unbelievable. And they keep on rolling it to the next year and the next year, and they never recognize it. So the picture that you see is not what's going on. I just wanted to say that because you're here, Marvin, and I wanted to commend you because you pointed that out. And you know it. I think you're a CPA, or a CPA. So
Years ago.
Years ago. So with that being said, and I might need someone's minutes. I knew I was going to sign up to speak today, but I didn't know what I was going to talk about because there's so much to talk about. From the election fraud that Jeff pointed out, which there is, and they know there is, to the financials that I just mentioned, which they know, they've been pointed out in the PUC rate appeal. It's been brought to their attention. To the TCEQ issues we're having out here, which they don't tell you about. The lift station in the airport. If you are an airport member, you know what I'm talking about. There's a smell coming from that lift station, and TCEQ is always having to deal with it, and they don't tell you about it. Big issues. But what I really wanted to use my time for today was at 3 o'clock today, the PUC staff submitted their supplemental testimony. I know this rate appeal is going on and on and on. It is going to have an end soon, but they submitted their supplemental testimony today, and in my opinion, it was a grand slam. Our rates should be combined, water and sewer, roughly $76. That's what they should be. And they justify those rates analytically. They go through it. It's a subject matter expert and it's an accountant that have been with the PUC each for at least 15 years. They've worked on case on top of case, huge electric company cases. They know what they're talking about. And you got these people up here that I don't think they're CPAs. I don't think they've been in the utility industry for years and years, and they're standing by these rates. So who are you going to believe? Who are you going to believe? With that being said, what you've heard from them over the past years is basically, the Joe Jimenez and Mike Nelson show. And that's all propaganda. I'm telling you, it's propaganda. For the last 3 years, they put out nothing but PR that they're trying to get you to believe, and it's not true. And I have the PUC expert testimony today. I printed it, and everybody's going to get one. You're going to see the refunds they're saying that we should get. We should get $80 a month for 3 years. We need to be paid, or whatever that is. We need to get $80, they're saying, because that's what the base rate was for all the years they took that money from us. I don't give a shit where they have to get it from. It's coming back to us. That's our money that paid for their legal fees. And as we know, Dana Martin, excuse my French. With that being said, Anna Gibbons, she's a subject matter expert. I have hers, $86.56. That is the refund. So the rates that this board that you're looking at right now, it's this entire board, they voted to raise our rates. Mendoza says, who's a subject matter expert, they're unjust and unreasonable. Guy's been in the industry for years, like I said. Rich, I don't know you I just don't know you. I don't know your past. I understand you're a businessman. I'm thinking maybe you're a good guy. I do not know why you are going down this road with these people into this fire. It is a big mistake because you are part of this board, and now you're part of the PUC rate appeal that forever will be out there that anybody can see. Taylor, I expect no less from her. Jimenez and Mike Nelson, it's their propaganda. They're the ones in the PUC rate appeal that's just spewing out this stuff. George, wherever you are, he's not here. I must say he's right. He is 100% correct. He has been going around telling everyone in the community the problems in Windermere started when the flunkers showed up. Well, he's right. They did, because what we did, Sandy and I, along with Bruce and Renee and Dick, we all started uncovering all of this fraud, and we brought it to everyone's attention. And I know it took a lot of people to get there and understand it, but it exists. And I know George is pissed that we brought it to their attention because it's going into his profits. And that's the bottom line. He's pissed that we showed up because it's hurting his bottom line profits. That's all.
Patty, it was proved in a district court. Come on now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Don't think.
That's all I have to
that
say.
that
I'm
they didn't know.
exhausted. I've spent my own money. Josie and I have spent numerous hours working at 3 o'clock. We are there. And they're going to continue to put a spin on the expert witness testimony that came out today, and they're going to fight it, and they're going to spend our money with legal fees to do it. They're going to continue to do it, to spend our money, even though they came out and said this today. So I have copies for everyone, and you can read it. You can read how we are getting our money back. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for being here
No,
today.
thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You tell me how's that board not gonna like getting $80 a month back?
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
I stand corrected, 86.
Oh, 86. Seriously?
They're not going to give it to us. I know they are. They're going to declare bankruptcy.
Okay.
I'm a prophet.
All right, thank you, Patty. Okay, thank you. Marvin Lewis, Mr. Marvin Lewis. Yes, sir.
That's me. Patty, I'll pay you later for the compliment. Thank you. I apologize to the board. I haven't been to most of your meetings. For you guys, I was on the board for 4 years, many years ago. My questions are, first of all, at the annual meetings back in my day, we used to distribute financial statements to anybody that happened to be there and anybody that asked for them later. Do you guys still do that? Because I haven't asked this time. Thank you. You do. Okay. Are your statements accrual basis or cash basis?
Cash.
Cash basis. Okay. That means if they pay it in cash, they call it an expense. If they don't pay it in cash, then it's not on the financial statement until, if ever, they pay it in cash. Right, Ed? Mike, whatever your name
I'm
is.
not an accountant, but that's my understanding.
Well, you keep books, so you must know that. Okay, that's the way it works, folks, trust me. So on the cash basis, Mike, what was the cost of legal fees in 2022?
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
It's roughly $2,500.
I can't hear you, sir.
It's roughly $25,000 a month.
Okay. Wow. That's
Roughly 25,000, and that's on a cash basis, that's what's been paid. Okay, and how much in legal fees has been incurred? That means that you owe them, but you haven't paid for it yet.
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Do you really don't know how much you've incurred in legal fees that you haven't paid? Please.
It's
10,000?
It's over $500,000.
Over $500,000 that's not on the books because you're on a cash basis, right? Mike?
It's on
Right?
our
I can't hear you, sir.
That's because of the
I
noise.
still can't hear you, sir. I beg your pardon, I'm very old.
It is on the balance sheet
If it's on the balance sheet, it's a
as a
liability.
liability.
Okay, then you're not on the cash basis after all. So you showed the expense, is that correct, sir? You can't have a liability without a debit. You can't have a credit without a debit.
It ends up on the, I don't know how the accountant does it, but it's on the balance sheet.
You know,
It's I'm sorry, it's on the income statement as an expense, even though you haven't paid for it.
No, it's not.
Then it's not. Okay, so
But it is on-
that's the end of
it
that.
is on the balance sheet as a liability.
$500,000 that has been spent, but not paid for yet, right? That's what you said, right?
I'm not an accountant, so I
No,
can't
but you
discuss
told me
it.
that just a moment ago.
I'm not an accountant, but all I said is it's on the balance sheet.
Well, I'm curious, who's the treasurer?
Where's
Yeah,
the
who's
balance
treasurer?
sheet?
Why didn't you
You
know
knew we
this?
were gonna have questions. Why didn't you
Marvin,
bring
it's
it?
not just 2022,
Rich
it's
treasurer
2021.
Oh, I know that too. I'm just asking about 2022. Joe, can you help at all?
I can't, I don't have those numbers in front of me.
Can you tell me, Joe,
As a
how
board-
much has been, no, please. Can you tell me, please, Joe, how much has been incurred for legal fees that has not yet been paid?
I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Is it $10,000
That's the
or
number I
less?
just gave you.
Is it $10,000 or less?
No,
No, it's not. Okay. Is it $50,000 or less?
I already answered that question.
No, you didn't, sir.
I said it's over
I'm asking Joe now, please, if I may.
okay. I do not have those numbers in front of me. This isn't a pop quiz. This is
Well,
never common. And
Excuse
you may continue to ask questions, but I am not prepared to answer them.
That's
And neither are my
fine.
board members.
That's fine, sir, I appreciate that.
And
And
so-
I asked Mike before the meeting started, if you guys know, can I ask a question? And Mike said, yes, you can. I thought you would probably know the answer to that, but you said you don't,
should.
and that's fine, I'll sit down.
He should.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that forward.
Danny, did you want to?
Yeah, I'm gonna speak.
Okay, you want to
Is it
speak?
my turn?
Sure, why not?
All right. Hey, Rich, I don't know you from Adam either. You know, you can walk away from this mess right now, and you're probably not going to be culpable and held liable. I assure you, what's going on behind the scenes, is something you don't want to be a part of. He knows exactly how much debt there is, and it's almost $1 million. They have indebted all of us to over $1 million to defend Bill Ernest, Dana Martin, the former board, and then when they got sucked into it, they panicked. No one wanted to sue the water company. In fact, everyone asked the water company to step aside and let us take care of this. And they jumped in the middle of it, protecting Dana Martin. And then when they became defendants, they shit themselves, excuse my language. And they're still shitting themselves.
You need to.
This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
Me too.
In fact, I think it's the most amazing thing anyone in this room has seen, even the people that don't much care for me. Yeah.
I think that's the goal.
I wanted to address, oh yeah, and one more thing. They keep putting out that they haven't done anything. No, you haven't been to trial yet, okay? You don't tell us you didn't do anything. We know you did something. Especially you, Bill.
Thank you.
All right. Anyway, I wanted to address the election.
paid your taxes
year after year after
You know
year,
what?
year after year,
Whoa.
Mr. Ernest, you
Year
don't want to
after
go down
year.
that road.
year after year,
Yeah, they,
year after
Let's talk
year.
about your retirement.
Come on, stop. Year after year, we ask them to have a third party handle our election. Okay? And we're going to do it again, and I'm going to hand them the letter that was handed to them in 2020. Here. Actually, Rich, because I think you have sold. We're not going to take them handling the election ballots anymore. It's not
One more.
does everyone in
They
this
haven't
room,
even addressed the last election.
they're right, and they're litigating that one. Does everyone in this room understand that the ballots go back? George Burris, who works for them, and you may want to fire him, handles our ballots. Your return address is on there. They know who you're voting for. All they have to do is throw away 20. Boom. How do we know? We don't know. In this election here, it has to be handled by a third party. If y'all don't handle it with a third party, we're going to go to a judge and make you have a third party handle it. Do you understand? We're not going to let you pick another thing.
Why would you go down that road?
Because
Think about it.
I can tell you why they did it. Because they thought they were going to cover for Dana Martin, and then when they became defendants, crapping themselves, which they still are, they never thought they were going to get sucked into it. Joe thinks he can bullshit anybody and smooth it over. That's what he's about. He runs a PR business. For him, it's all about PR. He doesn't care about anyone in this room or our company or our community for that matter. He's been on the board since he arrived. Same with Mike.
He told me that.
And Dorothy's got 14 years on this. It's time for these people to go.
Yes.
We don't want you on our board anymore. Do you understand?
Why would you want to sit on a board?
I don't
and vote
understand
once
that. That's the problem.
That's all.
I don't understand that part.
Thank you.
All right.
Now, let's not forget the insurance lawsuit too, everyone.
I'm sorry. It says D. Nelson. Did we
That's
already?
me, and I relinquish my time with Patty.
Okay, thank you.
Again?
Please.
Okay.
Talk about the insurance lawsuit, Patty.
Insurance lawsuit.
They've left us
Insurance lawsuit.
uninsured.
They are suing, and I'm going to say this for Mickey's behalf. Mickey's husband did not sign an affirmation, and they took it upon themselves to put him on the lawsuit. You cannot do that. You cannot put someone's name on a lawsuit that has not given you the authority to do that. First and foremost. Second, they are suing the insurance company because the insurance company denied coverage, and it gets down to one thing, rises out of. Does this lawsuit that was in the district court rise out of the previous lawsuit, the Toma lawsuit, which they, if you didn't know, they sold Dan and Martin that land in the airport, and they didn't put it on the agenda, and they didn't put the minutes out for quite some time, and so it was hush-hush, and then when we listened to the executive minutes that they turned over several years later, you can hear them say, Pat Mulligan and Mike Madden.
And they didn't even put up a for sale sign.
What's going to happen when the community finds out? They're going to kill us. They're going to kill us, basically, they said. They're going to kill us. So they knew this was a bad deal. So the Toma lawsuit went to district court, summary judgment, the plaintiffs won. They did not notice the public according to the Texas Open Meetings Act, sometimes known as open government. And so they denied it because they're saying that this district court case is tied to this Toma lawsuit. The actions of that Toma lawsuit, all of it rises out into that district court case. So that stuff is tied to the district court case, hence they denied all coverage. And they didn't pay anything, maybe $20,000. And they're suing them in the district court, and then it was a judgment favorable for Windermere, but that's what it was. I'm not going to put propaganda out there, but it was on limited issues, and the insurance company, huge insurance company out of Chicago, appealed it to the Fifth Circuit in New Orleans. Federal, it's federal. And so there should be a summary judgment coming out, and you need to know this. The insurance company is asking for their attorney fees to be paid. Who's going to pay that?
We are.
It's you. That's you. This isn't some, little
Allied's
itty-bitty.
they're not gonna go.
This isn't a small insurance company. They're out of Chicago. They have offices in Houston.
This is big.
And these guys do insurance lawsuits over and over, and an acquaintance of ours, Jeff, and ours, is friends with that attorney. And so this isn't ha-ha funny. This is serious stuff.
Hey, Patty, what's your background?
Well, I started out as a school teacher, but I'm a paralegal.
There
I
you
work
go. Thank you.
for Entergy Electric. Worked for Texas Rural Water Association as a paralegal. Worked with over 800 utilities in the state of Texas. So I'm familiar with environmental law, and this is just, it's not
utility law.
utility. It's not funny anymore, y'all. It's not funny. This is serious.
Yep.
We own this company. We should not be in this situation. So I am a little nervous of what's going to happen when the insurance company wins.
Real quick, so from your understanding, these debts that are being accrued and they're potentially overhanging us as a member-owned corporation, where does that debt fall to?
They just pass it on. They pass it on. They pass it on. It eventually, we had an expert witness I paid for in the PUC rate appeal. Our expert testimony got in like at 3:01, and so they fought it, and the ALJ, who's never been on our side, agreed with them, and they threw out our expert testimony. That's where they're at. The expert testimony is a CPA, and he is a 17-year veteran of a WSC up in the Waco area. And he said, he answered your question, he said eventually the bottom's going to fall out. When you start putting out all these fictitious numbers, you keep on rolling over and rolling over and rolling over, and most utilities do accrual or wait utility accounting because you have an actual picture of what the condition is. You do cash basis when it's always going to be the same. You never really have any changes. They do have changes. And so what happens is this money gets passed on from year to year to year. I would say right now they've got to have at least $800,000 that they're in debt, if not more. They've run up a bill at the PUC for about $600,000 now. Not to mention that. So the bottom's going to fall out. The bottom is going to fall out under these conditions. That's why they're wheeling and dealing with these developers. Let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Hey, let's get a deal going here. Let's get a deal going here. I'm going to charge this guy a whole bunch of tap-in fees, equity buy-in, line fees. That's what they're going to make the money up. They're going to try and do it.
Not enough.
Mark my words.
28 grand for the last one.
That's right.
Well, he's a buddy, that's why.
Maybe Joe can short sell his home.
Okay, do we have another, let's see, we have, thank you, Patty. We have
We will.
Mickey Bertino. Mickey's here. Mickey, do you
Yep,
have anything to say?
Some of the things are going to be repeat. The insurance company update, I'd like to know what's going on with that lawsuit. The PUC reply that y'all just did that said required all, A-L-L, all its former and current directors to execute an agreement granting the water company the right to repayment. My husband, David Bertino, did not sign that agreement, so why are you telling the PUC that all former directors signed an agreement? Because he did not. Do you have a paper saying that he signed that agreement?
It's one of,
I'll have to defer to legal is probably what they're gonna say.
they took an oath that that's the truth.
My understanding
Perjury.
is at that time,
Aggravated.
he was no longer
Yes.
part of the suit, and only those who were still in the suit
No.
signed that.
He was
That's
still
my
part of the
understanding.
suit
Wrong.
because he was asked to sign it.
Wrong.
And
Norm's
he did
on
not,
it.
he
Okay, and
refused.
then he was then dropped from the suit soon
Right,
after.
but
Okay.
when
So
that
everybody who
agreement
was in the
happened,
suit,
all did not.
right?
All directors did not. Okay, so
well,
next
Excuse
thing,
me for not getting
I mean-
that correct for a couple of weeks.
Aggravated perjury. Aggravated perjury.
Wow.
I'm curious why I don't think it's funny, because I'm tired of my husband's name being drug into your BS.
Good for you.
Yes,
So
it's
am I.
funny.
So
He did not sign that either. So, next one, board vacancy. I'm not understanding why we still have a board vacancy. It's almost been a year.
Yep.
I'm sure you could find somebody that's
Maybe we can
willing.
put Dana Martin on.
I'd like to know where we
They did not
can,
want me out of
That
board.
one was for
They did
you,
not want
Jen.
me out of board.
where we can find the legal, to date of what we've spent in legals from the beginning of all this. Is this on our website somewhere that we could find? I mean, like our financials, I'd like to know, or do I have to do one of the
Request.
CIA?
And then you only get what Joe gives you.
Do I have to do a request, is it on our website, or do I have to
Yeah,
request
oh.
certain things?
Yeah, you know, you can, anybody, and I've provided this before to Danny, our
I
monthly
don't
statement.
get what name you get.
So, yeah, just give me a PI, just send an email to me requesting the financial statement for the last month, and I can give you that.
For the
Why should I have it published?
Whatever you like. We
Okay,
never
I was
find it.
have to request it.
Okay.
I wish that that's something that maybe that we, in the future, that we could have our financials so that we see the checks and like, you know, knowing what we have in the bank, what it is. I mean, I thought that we used to have.
We
where
did.
we had,
Yeah, why do we have to submit a PIA?
You know,
Yeah, why can't we just
anyway,
get it
maybe
sent?
put it on the website.
That'd be a good fit.
And then, I'm curious about the fire hydrant. I saw caution tape at the end of the, right outside the gate. That there's caution tape. Is that fire hydrant not accessible?
I don't know why that tape's there.
Okay.
You cut the
I
deal.
mean, we drive by it every day. I would be questioning it if I was on board. Next thing is y'all said that y'all are gonna have meetings for like question and answer, like a town hall type thing about the developments that y'all are looking into to be part of our corporation. And, we have not had that. So I didn't know if there was a timeline that y'all said October is what y'all had said. And then the only thing that we got was that Zoom meeting that wasn't really a question and answer, that wasn't about the development. So,
Yeah, but
with developers.
Yeah, I can just say that the developers have,
PR stuff.
as they told me, put things on pause, and I think that's a reflection of the overall general economy right now.
Okay.
No, it's because they'll see what's going on.
Anything else, Mickey?
No, I guess I'll have to do it.
All right,
PIA.
I don't see anybody else,
Yes, Joe.
but if there's somebody, yeah, Greg Zumsky, I'm sorry, yes, sir.
I was also interested about any dealings to sell our water to any other community. From that Zoom information deal, we have 59 acre feet of water per year with that contract. Yes? You don't know?
Yes.
Okay.
He doesn't know
So, based on like the last 6 years of usage, we use about 56 acre feet per year. So right now, according to minutes from previous water board meetings, there's still 165 empty lots in Windermere. So even if half of those lots are built on, and you know, there's 8 houses being built right now, we have nowhere near the water rights with LCRA to take care of Windermere, let alone sell you off to other communities.
And what about the hangar?
Oh, that doesn't include the
hangars in there. Right, what are you talking about?
All right, anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to speak.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Alex Tradd, and I've owned property in Windermere for probably since the 80s. I own 2 lots, they're on standby. And when I've taken the time, I've read the file at the courthouse, and there is a hearing scheduled for, I believe, either February 2nd or February 3rd that may deal with a number of issues. What I have heard here is a substantial amount of distrust, I'm sorry to say. But the other thing that I have heard, and after having read a couple of wishy-washy lawyer letters that are involved in this case, it strikes me that the best thing for the entire operation would be a receivership.
Yes.
I have been involved in one, and I certainly don't need any more work, trust me. But what a receivership will do is the receiver is appointed, and then the receiver has the authority to act on behalf of the entity, and his job or her job is to do what is absolutely best for the entity. But the magic in the receivership is that a judge will oversee the action, so you don't have a question of trust or distrust. You immediately go to a court because the receiver will file monthly reports. The receiver has the authority to claw back legal fees. The receiver has the authority to collect appropriate debts. The receiver has the authority to enforce whatever orders may be in place by a utility. The receivership I was involved in was an electric utility, okay? And the guys took the money, they decided rather than improve the electric company itself, they went and invested in oil wells. Well, that money went away, and so the PUC came in and said, you know, hey, we're going to fix this, you're going to fix it, receiver, and he did. So you get the impartiality. Yes, there is cost, okay? But listen to the numbers that have been expressed here.
Yes.
I mean, it's
Astronomical.
frightening. And to the board, for you to call a meeting and say, we are here to discuss things and not have financials and wishy-washy answers on liabilities for a community. I'm sorry, sirs and ma'am, that's shameful.
It's shameful.
It's shameful.
Real quick, just based on your experience, the action to put the corporation into receivership, can that happen through PUC, or is that an action that happens with a court?
It's a
What
court.
was your experience?
The court will appoint the receiver, you know, and, you know, what you want to do is you want to have some influence or say or suggestion. And of course you want a receiver that has A, experience in being a receiver, that's number one. And two, if they have some utility experience, i.e. what's the business here, water, okay? You know, then that just kind of gives you a step up. But again, this entity's responsibility is to provide a utility, that utility being water and sewer. It's simple. One of my lots is right next door to the water plant, okay? So, you know, I've had an unfortunate experience with them in the past, but that's, you know, all said and gone. But what I would not want to see for the entire group is this well with no bottom that money's getting thrown into at an incredibly high rate of speed.
Because eventually it will be a receivership
It will.
on the path that it's taking.
Right, I mean, if you can avoid a bankruptcy,
How do we accelerate that? Because.
You know, I can't, you guys really have to listen to this gentleman. That is really, really great insight. I'm telling you,
because,
that's unbelievable
look,
insight.
all you're looking for is a level playing ground with no self-interest,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
So that's all you're looking for. You're just looking to right the ship. And I can assure you, the ship right now,
Wow.
Any other comments?
Yeah, can I say one thing?
Sure.
Joe, do you care to
Mr.
respond to that?
I've already said that if there's a factual matter that we respond to, we'll.
That's not a factual matter right there?
I didn't hear a factual matter.
Wow. You didn't hear a factual matter from anybody that spoke?
Mr. Funker,
Now, I was going to tell Mr. Trad, the recent newsletter that Mike and Joe sent out, I don't know if y'all know, but the whole board's supposed to participate in that, but it just had their names. They know how much the plaintiff spent in legal fees, but they don't know what they've spent in legal fees. That is amazing.
Well, they said 2 million.
Not in the newsletter. They didn't put it in there.
Quick request, please.
Yes, sir.
The board has the authority and the ability to petition a court for receivership. Would you take that action?
Thank you.
Yes.
Somebody with logic.
without the advice of counsel, I can't respond.
Okay, well, would you get more dollars, Joe?
Who's making money off your advice?
Have a town hall meeting.
This is a water utility, which is state law.
Well, these
that-
people can be responsible, they can petition the court for receivership. You know we are insolvent. You know the liabilities of this corporation exceed its ability to pay for it. You could be responsible and you could petition the court for receivership and get this mess sorted out.
You remember.
Thank you for that advice. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I was just gonna ask, with it just seems that from what you have indicated, you said $500,000 that you know of, and that's just for 2022. Do you know what is?
Outstanding.
That's outstanding. And any other agreed upon debts or agreements that you've entered into to pay in the future? What are those that this community need to know? And how do you plan on paying them back? I mean, if I owed $1 million and there's 280 ratepayers, how are they, the owners, going to pay it back? And you are the fiduciaries held the standard to manage this for these people, sir.
But
No, I want you to answer the question.
if you will let me, I'm asking the floor if there are any other questions.
Yeah, I have one last question, sir. There was a gentleman who came to you and did not want to participate in the water corporation because of why? Because he did not want to take on the liability that is forth in this. How many other users are out there wanting the same thing? Joe, that is a clear signal that you have somebody who does not want to take water service because of all the chaos and all the shenanigans that have been going on. That does not resonate with anybody? That does not resonate with anybody on the board? That a guy does not want to take on getting water from the water board, from this water corporation, because of the liabilities? Doesn't that mean anything to you guys? It means zero, in my opinion.
I want to go back to the original question. Simple. Joe.
If that's a fact, hey, by the way, that is a fact, everybody.
Gotta move on down the road.
How
So we can go home.
do you as a board members have a plan of paying back the liabilities that you admitted to? They're known about. Then there's the ones that are unknown. And there are 208 people that write meters that pay anywhere, from, should be $86 a month, but apparently it's $700.
No, that's a refund.
And the refund, but you said that it should be, no, I know, but you said that it should be around that.
It should be
76.
Yeah, right, 76 per month based on expert witness testimony. But it's now hundreds, some people pay, that's $500 a month. how are 280 people that write checks every month are going to pay back in excess of millions of dollars? That's what we want to know. That's the question. How are you going to pay it back?
We all want to know.
How are we going to pay it back?
Okay. Any other questions? I'm going to answer if you can give me, if you can.
Just one thing, not a question, but couldn't you publish your monthly financial statements on your website?
Amen.
Yep.
And couldn't you also include as a note perhaps the amounts of expense that you've incurred that haven't been paid? I mean, we are members, and members are kind of like owners for a not-for-profit.
We own the corporation.
So couldn't you publish your financial statements on a monthly basis on your website?
We can look into that.
Thank you. And also, if I may, include as a footnote, as a little footnote under the financial statements on a cash basis, the amount of liabilities that have been incurred, bills that you've received, that you haven't paid, just a total amount. Could you do that? Would you think about it?
It's called accounts payable. Accounts payable.
All right, so I have said to this body for the last two, maybe three, let's see, the 2021 annual meeting and the 2022 annual meeting, that we have budgeted $250,000 a year.
It was 260 last year.
To pay legal fees. So we pay $10,000 to one law firm, $10,000 to another every month. Okay, and then we've been paying $5,000.
That's
We.
Now
Look, am I going to be able to finish this or not? I mean, really, we have.
That's like $7,000 per member every month.
We have said at the annual meetings that the law firms have agreed to those terms, okay? And they are accepting that because they know that we can't raise rates because we're in the PUC process. And they are accepting of the agreement that we have with them to pay their bills, okay? Now, we've made that known in annual meetings. We've made that known in different correspondence. We made that known in the PUC hearings, okay? So that's
why did the rates increase in the first place? Why do you have that expense?
So
you're not getting down to the bottom line. Like,
so
why are you paying $20,000 a month? And don't sit there and put your hair back and go. You know,
So my point is simply that you're asking questions that we've talked about in the past. As long as we keep, humming along, producing water, and we have customers who pay the bills, we are going to pay our attorneys what we owe them. That's what a business does.
No, it's not. It's not what we do because you never approved those.
So to clarify what you're saying, and so that everyone understands you agreed to accept a $20,000 a month liability to defend the board and its members' actions and put that bill on the people here. And they have to pay $20 grand a month out of their fees for basically in perpetuity until they pay it down. That's yes or no?
The state law requires the corporation do that.
Wrong. This is not his question.
Wrong.
The state law requires the board to handle legal issues.
So let me answer your question.
I'm listening.
Okay. Who are you, by the way? I'm sorry, I don't know.
I'm Bill.
Bill.
Nice to meet you.
What's your last name?
Baker.
Baker. And this is part of Chapter 8 business law for water corporations. The water company may pay the defense costs of its directors.
May.
Okay?
May.
It may. And if it, and what has happened, and I was going to get to this in a next, a different item here. The current directors sign a affidavit saying that there's an adverse judgment against them, that they will repay the fees, okay? The legal fees used to defend them, okay? Former directors actually didn't have to sign that affidavit, but we asked them to, okay? So now that the court case has been decided, and all the charges against us three and former 4 other board members have been dismissed
They're not dismissed.
with a take-nothing order.
No,
They're not dismissed.
No.
Stop
Not
it.
dismissed, Joe.
Okay,
Stop it.
there's a
Stop.
take-nothing order, okay, by the judge, and that because of that, the state law actually requires the corporation, our members, to pay for the legal defense of the former, current and former directors.
That is nonsense.
Requires.
That's nonsense.
So that's, I mean, we can't change state law. I mean,
It's
we
not a
are,
state law, you voted on it, Joe.
okay,
You voted to.
okay.
Joe, you insulted me on a phone to say I don't know my legal, I get bad legal advice. You just got bad legal advice because you just said it. You just said it, Joe.
What did I say?
You just said it. You said, you went forward and the board came forth and said, hey, we're gonna vote to defend ourselves. You didn't bring that to us, members. You didn't do any of that.
I'm throwing you under the bus.
Excuse me?
I'm throwing you under the bus.
You know, you would throw him under the bus? Well, you know, yeah.
All right.
But all I'm saying, Joe, is you came to me on a phone call on December 19th and said, I did not know my legal things, but I did. I said exactly what was going on in here about receivership, about Dana Martin, about the thing, about the board, about shenanigans, and so on. And you insulted me, Joe, and I'm really getting tired of it. Because I'm telling you, everybody spoke up here and said, something's going on here. I don't even know this gentleman here. I don't even know that, but doesn't that mean anything to you guys? The guy said, put it in receivership. There's some shenanigans going on here. And you guys sit up there and go, well, yeah, there's nothing big deal. We'll just pass it on to the ratepayers.
As long as the
It's a
water.
very
Yeah, as long as
big
the water board corporation will still continue to pay, we'll be fine.
All right, so I'm going to proceed and I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And then we're going to move to the
I want
next.
to make sure everybody understands this. He's partially true, but he's partially wrong. But what he doesn't understand and what his lawyers have informed him about is Business Organization Code Section 8152, reported the indemnification in advances. It is required of the enterprise to give all of us a report, a yearly report of what they have spent for each individual attorneys. So I tell you what, go ahead and call Lloyd Gosling and Enoch and Keever and tell them, whoops, I forgot to point out Section 8152. You have never given us a report. Read it, it's in the law. Already talked to PUC about it, and I've already talked to my attorney.
And the invoices aren't broken down.
You've never given us a report.
Okay. I just want to say a few things just to respond to Mr. Walker. First of all, everybody who is curious about these allegations about election fraud and whatever, you're welcome to go to the PUC website. 53796, I think, is the case. And we responded to every single one of the allegations about problems with the election. Every single one. Number two, and you're welcome to look at that.
Wrong.
You're welcome to look at that.
Wrong.
I invited Mr. Walker to be a community liaison, not an
Advocate.
advisor.
I have your voice. Advocate.
Play. DICE has not contacted us or our attorneys.
Are you serious? You just responded to him, Joe.
Come on, man.
Mr. Walker, let's see. Mr. Walker in his complaint did not ask to be put on the board. He asked for the water corporation to be put into receivership.
Never said that. Never said one or the other, Joe.
So why do we only have
And
4 people on the
then,
board? Where's
let's
the
see.
5th person?
Hey,
And then
Yeah, so where's the
finally, I said, and I'm about to go into that, I told Mr. Walker in December, whenever we had a conversation, that the case needs final judgment before we can receive anything. And let me move to item number 4, recovery of award and legal fees, discussion, consideration, and appropriate actions in view of current status of French et al., intervenor plaintiffs, WF Hanger Operations, LLC et al., Friendship Homes and Hangers LLC, Windermere Oaks WSC et al., cause number 48292, 33rd Judicial District, Vernon County District Court. Now, as everybody here probably knows, there was a judgment on November 18th, and I want to read to the board and to our members a letter that I would like to seek approval from to send out. January 10th, 2023. Once again, a small group of people responsible for years of previous misinformation to the neighborhood has been circulating misleading information about the jury verdict issued November 18th. Rest assured that the board will pursue the judgment and legal fees due once final judgment is made after court processes. Here's the current situation. After years of litigation and a full week of trial, the jury found that Dana Martin and her company underpaid for the property. They answered the question of damages to be awarded against Ms. Martin in the amount of $70,000, which they calculated as, quote, the difference between the net amount, considering fair market value, the WOWSC would have received from a sale of the property to an unrelated party at the time of transaction, and the net amount received by WOWSC at the time of the transaction. Now, that's close. That is, per the jury, this entire lawsuit and all the related proceedings were over a piece of property that a jury decided was worth $270,000 instead of the $200,000 net gained by the water company. To obtain this $70,000 verdict, the plaintiffs Dick Dowell, Renee French, and Bruce Sorgan paid in excess of $400,000 to their attorney as she testified at trial. Given the relatively small amount of money that was awarded by the jury and in light of the plaintiff's much greater expenditure required to obtain that result, the WOWSC board continues to believe that this matter should have been resolved by settlement long ago, and the WOWSC board stands by its decision not to have joined the plaintiffs in their pursuit of what turned out to be $70,000. Furthermore, joining the plaintiffs would likely have caused the company and its members to suffer through further litigation with the title company, yet another possible expense which weighed against pursuing the plaintiff's cause. The WOWSC discussed these matters at a lengthy open community meeting on October 26, 2019. The board members at the time, including current members Joe Jimenez, Mike Nelson, and Dorothy Taylor, stated that they wished to avoid the uncertainty and expense of litigation in a case with dueling positions and limited upside. The board chose instead at that time to enter into a mediated agreement with Ms. Martin, resolving the value dispute through an additional $20,000 offered to the water company. The board's mediated action would have prevented the company from incurring any more legal fees.
I didn't hear the word conspiracy.
And?
I missed it somewhere in there.
Conspiracy.
Breach of fiduciary duties, liability.
The board's mediated action would have prevented the company from incurring any more legal fees and pursuing further claim on valuation. Despite the board's decision, the plaintiffs, Mr. Flunker, please. Despite the board's decision, the plaintiffs then continued their lawsuit, expanding it to include Jimenez, Nelson, and Taylor. Along with the 5 2015-26 board members they had previously named in the suit. Their continued action caused the company to pay hundreds of thousands in defense of the corporation and the current former directors. In May 2021, the court dismissed the plaintiff's lawsuit with a take-nothing order for all claims against the current and former directors of the water company, excepting Ms. Martin. At trial, all the plaintiff's claims against the corporation were similarly dismissed by the court. As to when the WOWSC will collect the $70,000 in attorney fees which the company spent for Ms. Martin's defense, there are many legal processes ahead. The jury verdict will not be turned into a final judgment, and that is a signed judgment from the judge that is required to make any jury verdict into a collectible judgment until after a hearing currently scheduled for February 2nd. At that time, a judgment will become appealable by any party. While the WOWSC hopes that it will not be appealed, so this case can at long last come to an end, and the WSC can go about collecting the money owed to it, it is possible that either plaintiffs or Ms. Martin could appeal. If that happens, the legal process will delay the collectability of any judgment, meaning that no money can change hands. No final determination of this case will be made until all appeals are completed. The process must play out to conclusion before any fees may be collected. We restate our wish that no parties appeal the eventual final judgment so the WOWSC can collect what is owed to it, and so that this long dispute might finally come to an end. Now, I would just like to say that that's a letter that we would like to issue on behalf of the board. It contains concepts of the fact that we do want to claim
Who did that come from?
fees.
Jill wrote
We
it.
want to wait until final judgment occurs.
No, Joe wrote it.
And all the other matters.
The
So
legal
I need to
subcommittee?
ask the board for, any modifications or changes that the board
I vote
would desire.
receivership. All those in favor vote aye.
Receivership it is.
You guys need to be quiet so that we can conduct the meeting.
Unbelievable.
So are there any changes?
No, I'm okay with setting that up. Me too.
All right, Rich Schaefer just got in. He's in. That's awesome.
I made a motion and the board agreed to accept it. We have a second. Any
Hey Joe,
further discussion?
can you put my letter at my front porch, because I don't want to pay the post.
Yeah, same here.
No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Take $1 off my water bill.
Motion passes.
Nay.
This shareholder objects.
Nay.
This shareholder objects too.
Approval of board meeting minutes. Item 5.
Who's the sick people?
June 22nd, 22,
Really are.
and August 30, 22. August 30, 22. Rich.
I have presented sent the minutes to everybody. So does anybody have any updates that they would like to make?
Nothing.
Okay, then I will finalize them.
I second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Election procedures for 2023 annual members meeting. Discussion, consideration, and possible action.
Yeah, let's see about that.
Credentials Committee B, review of Credential Committee's recommended election procedures for 2023 annual members meeting. Adoption of Credentials Committee recommended election procedures for 2023 annual members meeting, including setting date. Dorothy.
So there were a few changes from Texas Rural Waters, but it's basically the same template.
Can you speak
guys-
up,
We
please?
can't hear you. Can't hear you.
We received some revisions from Texas Rural Waters from last year's. We've incorporated those. The board has received those. The Credentials Committee has advised that they are ready for you to approve them. So unless you have any other additional questions.
Can I volunteer
Who's
for
the
that committee?
Credential
When is that date?
Can I volunteer for that committee?
Yeah.
Is April the 15th?
April 15th.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dorothy makes that in the form of a motion. Do I hear a
Who's
second?
the committee?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any
Who
further
is
discussion?
on the committee?
No further discussion.
They never voted
All in
for it.
favor say aye.
Well, they never voted on it.
Motion
Can
passes.
you not tell us who's on the committee?
Wow. Next item is
Why is that a secret? Who's on the committee?
on the committee?
Who's on the committee?
Clarifier and storage tank.
Wow.
Update on progress and plans related to clarifier and storage tank accommodating Texas Rural.
Here we go.
Receiver muscle mitigation update on filtration system installation.
We don't like you, Joe. We want you to go away.
And activities, how WSC is handled.
I guess I didn't.
George provided you with a statement
Could
about.
you at least be quiet enough to let people that might want to hear what's going on?
Answer our question.
I'm pretty sure that would be a secret. Who's on the committee?
Open government.
Dorothy Taylor?
It says approval of credentials committee. Who is it?
Jan Martin?
Yeah, who's on the election committee?
We need to hear.
This is to item number.
That's why people don't trust us. We don't know who's on the committee. You won't tell us. That's why people don't
can get a word in.
Well, you haven't said
Go ahead.
it. You kept going on with the agenda when we're asking who the committee is, when you're saying the committee, and then you won't say the name. So if you're
I do
asking
not
who-
think that this board is inclined to react to your questions because it's not required. We would do so if it wasn't so, if that's what's so hostile.
All right, so the
Resign,
can I get a word in?
Well, do it.
We paid $2 million for it, and you also approved your committee, did you? It's on the agenda.
The credentials committee with Jeff Hager and Harry Gibson. It was part of the motion. Okay.
Wow.
You didn't say a name.
I just said Harry Gibson and Jeff Hager.
So you sucked Hager back into the mess. Jesus.
All right.
Poor bastard.
Can I read the manager's report?
Somebody call Jeff Hager right now, see if he actually.
Storage tank. The construction of the new storage tank is complete, and ironically, after considerable delay, today we received a letter of approval from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality for the storage tank. Many of the TCQ engineers are still working from home under the pandemic protocols, which has added to delay. However, we now have permission to put our new tank into service. All the controls are in place, and the instruments which monitor the water level in the tank as well as water quality are tied into the computer which controls the operation of the plant. We can now start the process of changing over from the old tank to the new one. Also, the conversion of the old tank to a clarifier can begin. So that's good news. Item number 2, zebra mussel mitigation. In the meantime, the zebra mussel project is moving forward as well. A machine which will remove the zebras from the lake water has been placed on the barge, and the piping which connects the strainer to the pump manifold has been completed. Now that the exact position of the strainer has been established, a galvanized steel pedestal is being constructed, which will become the permanent support. The final step will be for the electrician to provide the power and control circuits. The timeline is dependent on the weather and the dock service man who provides crane and welding service as well as transportation to the barge. So, there we go. All right, back to the agenda.
Awesome.
Item A, Treasurer's Report, review of November and December financial reports, review, discussion, and consideration of approval of 2023 budget, review and consideration of approval for Director Expense Report. Mr. Treasurer.
Okay, since this is also the end of the year, and we're combining November, December, I might as well just talk about the overall year, where we are relative to the budget. So from a water and sewer services, that's the money that we budgeted for taking in our normal income for water and services. Our budget was $624,000, and we brought in $633,000. Total income for the year is, which includes various other fees for new customers and things like that. Our total income was budgeted to be $707,000 for the year, and we took in $713,000. Cost of goods sold, cost to provide water and sewer for everything was budgeted at $196,000, and we only accrued expenses for $184,000. So in general, for running the water system, we brought in a little bit more money, and that's due to the fact that we had kind of a dry year, and water demand was higher. That brought the income up, and our expenses were lower, or for the cost of water. Now, other expenses include things like maintenance and bank charges, bookkeeping, all that other stuff. The significant things that we need to talk about are probably maintenance, which was the numbers. Here it is down here. Repair and maintenance, which was budgeted for $75,000, and we actually had about $84,000 in maintenance this year.
And then on parts, just below.
And parts below it were actually about budget. So yeah, we're $20,000 for parts, and we used $18,000.
So 85 plus 20 is about 105.
So although we were about 9,000 over, and then another 2,000 lower, so it's about $7,000 more in maintenance related activities. So, for the year. The big thing, the other thing that was amiss on the budget is actually insurance. This is actually, we managed to keep the cost for this year consistent, and that's because we're paying out the insurance costs over a period of time instead of all at one time, which would, since we have the insurance policies mid-year, paying it out mid-year would have meant that we were paying for some of 2022 and some of 2023. So we paid already all of the 2022,000 part, but the bill that was done in June, we're still paying the 2023 in 2023.
So sometimes you're on accrual and sometimes you're on cash. Real good.
Yep.
That's good accounting. That's great. One system, another system, let's combine.
Who is the current
That's wonderful.
insurer? What is the name of that corporation?
We go through, I don't know, we go through a broker.
Oh, dear Lord.
There are several different,
Joe, who's your car insurance company? I mean, you're the president of the board. You should know who the insurance company is, because that is pennies a day, provide you certainty. And if you're not paying the bill and you don't have an A-rated company, it's just another big pan of worms that everybody here is going to pay for. And you're the president, and that's your job.
okay.
Do you even have insurance?
Wait, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your answer because of the audience. What was your answer?
Man, there's several,
Asking if you
companies.
even have
I don't know right now off the top of my head their names.
Thank you.
We did that back in
I take it as no.
October, November.
We don't know.
I just don't.
Do you have insurance?
Sir, to the treasurer, you're paying the bill.
Do you have insurance?
Who do you write the check to pay the
We
insurance?
have insurance.
With
With who?
And what type of insurance?
All I know is we go through a broker, I pay the broker. The individual policies are, I don't know the names of them off the top of my head.
Who's the broker?
Point proven.
How much did it cost?
Point proven. There's no insurance.
So our budget for insurance this year was 30,000. Our budget for next year.
No, who's the broker?
I don't have that information right in front of me.
You just said you pay the broker. So you should know who the broker is.
I mean, is that a QuickBooks file? You just go to
Can I
vendors?
look it up? The answer is yes.
How
I have
you
it
can
at my
resign.
fingertips right now. The answer is
Resign. You're totally incompetent. You're either a thief or incompetent. Take your pick.
So total expenses for the year, our legal expenses, like I said, they're significant. We're budgeted 200, as Joe mentioned, we're budgeted 260,000. We spent about 28,000. 280,000, I'm sorry, for the year.
Bullshit.
Again, sir, that's what you paid.
That's what we paid.
That's not what you incurred, but what you paid.
That's what we paid.
Yes, not what you incurred, but what you
That's
paid.
right.
I'm just curious, and the IRS forms are reflecting the correct financials. Marvin, you could probably talk about that.
I can't hear you.
I wonder if their IRS forms are reflecting correct information because they're doing accrual in cash.
So net our budgeted budgeted net income was 4,000, and we actually took in 16,000 this year.
Right.
Operations for the company.
Feeling good about this.
All right. So what's our next year's budget look like?
Pardon me, but after going through the revenue and expenses, wouldn't you want to tell us what the bottom line is?
I just said.
I couldn't hear you, sir.
Do you want, which number, do you actually want a net number, net gain, or do you want how much were the total income and how much the total expenses?
It's your financial statement. You gave us the revenue, you gave us some of the expenses.
Well, I know,
What are the total expenses and what's the bottom line?
Okay,
If
the
you told me, I couldn't
bottom
hear.
line is net profit is 16,000.
16,000.
So our expenses were $16,000 less than
I understood that part.
Okay.
Okay. And the highest expense was legal fees, is that correct?
So we just,
Thank you.
I cannot hear, I'm only listening to the board members. You guys don't have,
On our 2023 budget, is there a way to get a copy of these? I know that volume level
2023 budget, one of the things that we will have to deal with is our income is roughly the same because it's set by tariff, and it's really a matter of how much water we pump and how many connection fees we did. We assumed
And how much rate increase you did? Come on.
we assumed 8 connections for next year, and assuming a year like this year, in terms of how much water we use, this will be a dry year, so water supply is likely to be a little bit higher than nominal, which it was this year. So we use much the same income numbers as this year. Other things, major things to have to deal with in the budget are the fact that if we budget going forward for insurance, it's going to be more at, I think the number was 40, it's 40 something.
You're stuttering, Richard.
Hold on just a minute. I don't, here it is. It's actually 48,000 is what we've budgeted for insurance for next year. It's gone up quite a bit.
Wow.
Yes.
And
Excellent decision making.
And we will continue to be paying off legal at the same rate, although we've dropped off.
2050.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for your work on that budget. Do we have any questions from Mike or Dorothy?
I haven't had a chance personally to I'd like to table any votes on it, so I get a chance to
Excuse me, can I ask one question?
We'll table approval until the next meeting, just so that, Mike can.
One of the things that I still want to wait before I even bring it up for, I wanted to bring it up here just to get any input that you might have for me to go back and work on. I'm waiting for George to talk about what kind of projects we have going on for next year. In case we have to do more loans to go for it, then we'll have to have more income or more expenses in terms of payments. Yeah, until we know what the loan.
No, they're telling us because they're blending cash and accruals, setting the lane and not putting it
Does the board currently have E&O coverage?
Yes.
Arizona emissions coverage?
Yes.
Okay, from a different,
No, we have directors and officers. But we don't
so
have
D&O coverage?
D&O.
Okay, and from a different carrier than the one that's currently involved in the litigation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we will table approval of the budget until the next meeting. You guys can work things out a little bit. And
It's a mess.
okay, so we have that, and you gave us the December report budget. Also, I submitted an expense report where I asked for reimbursement for, I don't know, $43 for some fire extinguishers that I purchased that George needed, and I had to make a trip to Marble Falls for some, for a notary, for some liens that we had to put on some members' accounts. So it was $20. So that's, I think the report was like $60. I make that in the form of a motion to approve so I'm gonna make this motion to approve the December and November financial report, to approve the director's report, and then to table the budget to the next discussion. That's my motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Hear a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Number 9, new business, discussion of appropriate action on agenda for next meeting. Next meeting, set date, time, and place for next meeting, number 10. So Dorothy, we have to have a meeting in when? 3rd or 4th of March. Does that date ring a bell with any of y'all for anything that?
Oh, shit.
We have to have the meeting because of election procedures. And so at that time, I'll present the president's report, hopefully. So that we won't have to have another meeting. Of course, if we have any further actions on any of the legal issues, of course, we can convene a meeting for that. But is there anything else that we want to?
Dorothy, what is the soonest we can hold the meeting required for elections? that is November, March, so we have to have a March 13th or March 3rd meeting. How much can you move it forward and still meet all the guidelines for elections?
Not very much, because the deadline to get board applications is like the 1st of March, so we need a day or so.
So we're bound on both the end and the beginning, so we really don't have much of an option.
Also, keep in mind that the directors that are currently sitting on the board were
No, I was
elected
just-
in March.
27th.
The issue I wanted to.
March of 21, March 2021, so they only serve 2-year terms, and after March,
They're off.
with
All right, so
21st, they
we'll
will
have
no longer
March
be directors.
34th.
So there'll be 2 weeks
From
that
the,
these guys
the
can't sit on the board.
And anything else?
They can't sit on the board.
Talk about?
2-year terms.
We should be able to talk about
Yeah, we'll talk about the judges and
So they'll be like,
you know, if there's any updates on appeals and then from the other parties.
they cannot sit on the board, because they serve 2-year
And the one thing I
terms.
have asked George to do is to create kind of a summary.
Nelson,
We
Jim
have
Nelson,
those ones for the last couple of years. And
That's a lot.
summary of where they spent it.
Yes. Any question?
Okay, I didn't see that.
That's them.
So what did they say? April? No, when's the election?
I thought they said
Okay.
Hey, Joe, I got a question. Joe, I got a question. You
We
said
have a
you-
motion to adjourn. Do I-
No, Joe, you have to address my question.
Motion and a second,
No.
all in favor?
Can we get a copy of the book?
Robert's whole shit.
All right.
What is the
blatant violation of Robert's rules.
Yeah, let's do
to
it.
track the billing and the payments? What is the accounting software?
I don't run it, I'm just a treasurer. I get copies.
What are you using right this moment?
You get reports.
Joe, how do you-
account it that you
I
pay?
had an election on the 15th of April when you had the election last year on the 19th of March.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah,
The 27th.
you can't do that.
By state law.
They do whatever they
It's
want.
not state law, you know.
It is.
Yeah, whatever.
You're elected for 2-year
All right.
terms.
Well, that's a 2-year term.
Thank you all for attending, your input. And
You needed to see it.
our best.